Are you the founder or leader of an organization that is trying to make positive contributions to society? Are you a policymaker trying to design ecosystems and frameworks in which organizations are able to tackle complex social problems? Are you an investor who has a priority in making impactful investments? Or are you just someone interested in social entrepreneurship and impact investing and the intersection between the two? Then our massive open online course, Accelerating Investment Readiness, AIR, is exactly for you. I'm recording this in a situation of crisis, and I think this crisis in particular shows us how important organizations are that are able to contribute to making our societies resilient and that are also able in creative ways to tackle today's grand challenges. Together with my colleagues Alex and Adrian and the international team of Finance for Social Change and EUInterreg project, we are bringing this MOOC to you.
Ashoka is a global NGO that is operating in more than 40 countries, and we are supporting social entrepreneurs in scaling the solutions and scaling their impact. For Finance for Social Change, I've been responsible for designing 2 modules of our blended learning program, 1 module on scaling and 1 module on communication.
Hello, my name is Adrian Fuchs from the Financing Agency for Social Entrepreneurship from Germany, and we are responsible to bring to you the module about finance and the module about management and organization.
In AIR, we employ what I would call the Oxford method, although obviously that's not a registered trademark. What I learned when I was doing my PhD there is that people learn most and best when they are prompted to think and tackle the problems that they have at hand. So please, in the MOOC, don't expect us to tell you what's right or wrong. And also don't feel puzzled that when you move away from the MOOC, from a section that you've taken, you might have more questions in your head than answers. That's exactly the kind of situation we want to create. What we discuss here are topics of utmost importance. So for instance, we're tackling the questions, how do you successfully overcome the many challenges that come with measuring your social impact? Or also, how can stories, narratives, discourses help you to achieve your social mission? Of course, impact investing and the crossroads between impact investing and social entrepreneurship are central to AIR. I now invite Jed Emerson, a leading figure in impact investing and the father of blended value accounting, to tell us why exactly he thinks we need more content, more thinking, more action at this intersection of impact investing and social entrepreneurship. So please, Jed.
How we understand the role and place of both capital and corporation is simply a social construct. It really is a legacy that we've inherited from previous people and generations who have thought about the role and place of capital and companies in a certain way. And I think today what we're seeing more and more is growing numbers of entrepreneurs and investors, instead of wanting to kind of do well and then do good later, want to pursue what I've called a blended value proposition that optimizes both various levels of financial performance together with different types of social and environmental impacts. I think that the future of impact investing is really quite powerful. In the aftermath of the coronavirus, I think what we will see is really a sharp difference between how we think about what the role and function of the government is, of the private sector, of money and wealth. And we will really see, I think, a stark contrast between how traditional financial capitalism, traditional shareholder-driven business development is managed versus what the real needs are of communities, of markets, of each of us as individuals. And that disparity really is best addressed, I think, through tools and techniques and practices of social entrepreneurship and impact investing. I think what we'll see is that the practices and approaches that have been pioneered by thousands of social entrepreneurs, by thousands of impact investors around the world over the last 3 decades, will now have significant uptake in the mainstream, because people will be looking for alternative ways to think about and manage not only capital, but companies, and managing both for the highest value of community. MOOCs like this are critical in terms of giving the field and all of us as practitioners new perspectives and insights with regard to the work that we are trying to advance in the world, and give us a different lens that we can use to understand how we are positioned in the context of the work and within this larger community that really has evolved now all around the world.
We also discuss issues of strategy in a time where it's becoming more and more important that organizations are thinking outside their little boxes, where they need to position themselves in systems and need to think in coalitions of actors. So for example, what can impact organizations, impact investors and policymakers interested in this subject achieve when they are working together? How can they create more positive social change? Alyssa McDonald-Bärtl, herself a leading figure and role model in systemic impact, will tell us how she thinks we can move from small improvements to major positive social change. So Liz, please tell us.
So Gorgi, I love what you're doing with the MOOC here and the whole team in terms of really looking at the impact and scaling of what social enterprise can do. Years ago, I read a book by Jim Collins. He's a writer. He wrote the book Great by Choice. And he's a writer where he's been studying, he's American, and he's been studying, for example, ways that stock-listed, big, proud, strong American companies have grown from innovation and scaled their innovation. Now, when I was reading Jim Collins' book, I thought, okay, he's talking about scaling innovation. As a social entrepreneur, I'm always interested in scaling impact. And what I loved is I took his approach to scaling innovation and thought about what it meant about scaling for impact. And he gave this really great analogy. He said, shoot bullets and then shoot a cannonball. And what he meant by that was come up with bullets, come up with lots of little ideas, some experiments, practices, build a business with lots of experiments, practices, and little bullets. And you practice shooting your little bullets on little targets. And once you find the one bullet for the one target that really makes sense, then you get out your cannonball and you fire the one big missile, like the one big hit that's going to make the impact. And while Mr. Collins mentored in the concept of innovation, I think it really applies to us in social enterprise and in scaling impact. How was I running my business in the past? Well, I was using a lot of activism and idealism, I tell you. I was making videos and going to conferences and standing on stages and imploring my colleagues in the industry to use our little examples of how empowering farmers is improving their health, is improving their livelihood. And I was using our small scale to try to move a really big rock. But I was missing the leverage item. I was missing the thing that turned my bullets into the cannonball, the thing that grew that impact. That was science, evidence, and policy. We can't stand there as social entrepreneurs and just say how great our ideas is and give our small examples of 2,000 farmers and a few hundred hectares. How on earth will the world's largest players take that seriously and model it for their own ideas if we give these small examples with idealism and activism behind them? We have to commit ourselves to the proof of evidence and science to help us make our ideas validated, referenceable, and serious. Scaling impact, I challenge you to always be asking yourself, what of these little bullets am I firing? Which one could really make the big impact? And who knows, you might find yourself a third-generation farmer from the South Pacific and often sitting in Berlin and Brussels and advising legislation processes, advising the world's largest chocolate companies on business processes, and having the absolute luck and fortune to share ideas in a massive open online courses like with you.
You see, we have a lot waiting for you. So don't hesitate and join AIR in order to accelerate investment readiness and contribute to better business and stronger society.